Starstruck.
Okay. Get my ear cups here. All right. Oh. My pop filter went flaccid. Oh.
Is there a pill for that?
There was rhinoceros boner pill. Available only at Circle K.
Arby's. The magical chain that always stays in business.
Sharks, I've got a great idea for a new product at Arby's. Rhinoceros boner pill.
I'm in.
$10 billion valuation. Let me get Steve Jobs. Sharks. What's the biggest problem with compute today? Your boner is not big enough.
Your mother listens to this show, doesn't she?
Steve Jobs selling boner pills at Arby's is 3 levels of, yeah, there's a lot going on there.
If I cut that out, well, we'll see. So,
it's naturopathic.
that will sell anything.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get my composure here. Hello and welcome to Joyride. I am Jared Brandon Flandy.
And I'm Kyle Dotterman.
And this is the show that is about the journey, not the destination. Here we are.
Back again.
So, you actually, my understanding is, before we get into the main story here.
Yep.
You actually took a little joyride yourself.
Yep, up to the Great White North.
You went up to the Great White North, and I came into the studio the other day, and in your words, you had put Tim's bits in your mouth, and were not
Indeed
satisfied.
Indeed. You know, there's many things you can say about Canada, and they're very protective of Tim Hortons, and I gotta wonder why this chain is.
So we're not getting them as a sponsor.
No. I'm sorry. They have to know, right? I mean, I've had a lot of coffee in my life. I've had coffee that would make other people just gag.
Uh-huh.
I need caffeine to function. That was undoubtedly, unabashedly terrible. I would rather make coffee at a 7-Eleven and find milk that had been sitting on the street and pour it into it than drink Tim Hortons. It's just not good. I'm sorry. It's just that bad.
You know, this show has got quite a strong Canadian following, especially as of this season. So.
Well, folks, you already, you know.
Maybe you just went to a bad Tim Hortons.
I went to multiple. Okay, the Timbits are fine. They're good. I mean, they're donut holes. How bad could they be, right? But I had a vanilla latte. It just tasted like it was made from a powder. It was like if you described to an alien what a vanilla latte was like, that's what they would have made. I sound like a very big douchebag right now, but it is what it is.
This isn't the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Man. The thing about jiu-jitsu is, you gotta get the other guy, and you gotta get him, you know.
Very good.
Something about aliens, and then 4 hours later the show is over.
You nailed it.
I just want you to know that if we're ever over, if you're like, God, we're gonna do a 4-hour episode, I'll be like, well, that's good because you're gonna be doing 3 hours of it by yourself.
No, we're not gonna do it. We're not doing a 4-hour episode. But okay, so aside from your mixed experience with Tim Hortons, what else did you do?
The country's beautiful. I mean, downtown Vancouver is beautiful. The waterfront is beautiful, surrounded by the mountains. It's an incredible city. The people are nice. You know, you go to the border crossing, and the our border crossing guard was like really checking if we had any guns. He's like, "Are you totally sure you don't have any guns?" We're like, "Yeah, man."
Usually, I'm aware of what I have.
I would be aware. Yeah. I don't tend to just bring random firearms into different countries, and I feel like I would know. He's like, "All right."
All right, now you promise. I mean, they didn't actually look because they're just that trusting.
No,
okay, you're sure?
They didn't. Nobody searched. You know, I don't know how common it is to have the vehicle searched at the border, but we didn't either way.
You could go through the border with a literal bazooka in your hand and say it's a replica. Oh, yeah, you promise you're telling the truth? Yep. All right then. Welcome to BC.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, since we have. Thank you to the fine people of Canada.
Okay. One more thing.
Okay.
One more thing. Specifically Vancouver. What the hell is going on with your street designs, and why are people allowed to park in the right lane?
I have not been there. So
what is going on? Okay. Classic 4-lane, you know, kind of strode kind of thing, you know, street, road, strode, kind of the kind of 40-mile-an-hour zone that you see in the outskirts of many cities.
Mm-hmm.
There are people just allowed to park in the right lane, essentially, as if it were a, you know, 1-lane, 20-mile-an-hour residential street. What is that, Canada? What are we doing? And then when a car comes up to the parked vehicle, do they get out of that lane 500 to 1,000 feet before they get to the car? No.
Is this just gonna be you when we start doing the TV version of these? Or are you just
and me losing my damn mind? Yes. Because guess what? They don't get over 1,000 feet before. They get over 50 feet before that car. They throw on the left turn signal and they go, "Good luck, everybody." Woo! And head right back into that left lane. I saw almost 3 accidents that way. Guys, we got to figure this out. We got to figure it out. I know we don't have a great record with vehicle stuff vis-a-vis the Bricklin thing that we talked about already, but like, come on, let's figure it out. You know, I think starting with not having cars park in lanes, I don't know, just an idea.
I think the provincial government of BC will hire you to be their new transport minister.
Look, my email is open. I can come up with 5 points that will fix BC transport.
You let us know when they respond. How's that sound? To be continued.
TB, yeah. Updates. They are right around the corner.
Speaking of transport, we do have a story for this episode.
That's good. My blood pressure is now very high because of this.
So, this is continuing on with the Mad Mechanic of Belfast, Harry Ferguson, Part 3, and we left off with Harry. It was World War I, and he's trying to help mechanize agriculture in Ireland, and he's not satisfied with the equipment, so he's going to start trying to figure out better equipment.
Off we go.
So, Harry thus far has learned to become an ace mechanic, a motorcycle racing driver, an aviator, a race car driver. So he's every 5-year-old boy's dream when they grow up. But now he was taking a new path at his journey, and that was being an agricultural inventor. Farm mechanization in Harry's time was still fairly primitive, and he was on a mission to fix this by building a better plow. Since our hero was not a fan of the big tractors of the time, since those made by the likes of International Harvester Works weighed over 4 tons, he wanted to do his plow experiments with a light traction machine.
Okay.
As a side note, you're talking about Steve Jobs, so that's a weird foreshadow that was not intended here.
All right.
I read the biography as my senior capstone project when I was in college.
The Walter Isaacson
biography. Because it was the only book that wasn't on it. It wasn't a textbook. And then I got the SOB, and it was 600 pages.
It is. It's a good book, though.
It is a good book. And I was reading about how Steve Jobs' adoptive father, and I think it was in the 50s, worked at International Harvester Works as a machinist.
Yep.
And my great-grandfather on my father's mother's side worked at International Harvester in the 50s and was also a machinist.
Maybe they knew each other.
Well, I asked my dad, and he went, I can ask your Aunt Jean. Yeah, because she would have been the one still alive that would know. And I said his name was Paul Jobs. And then he calls me back, and he goes, well, I talked to her, and she said, I do remember him saying he had a friend named Paul, but I don't remember his last name. So it may or may not have been.
We'll never know.
Yep.
Paul Jobs is such a generic name. It's just
hey, don't ruin it for me. Okay? I can dream. So he needed a light traction machine for his experiments. He ended up settling on a Ford Eros. This was not a true tractor, however, since it was a conversion kit made for a Ford Model T, and it was created by a company based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The kit featured two larger wheels that were mounted behind the axle as an extension to the car's frame. So it's a jerry-rigged kind of setup that you're turning a car into a tractor.
That's the visual is hysterical to me.
The wheels were driven by a series of sprockets, and a larger radiator also came with the kit to assist with cooling.
Yeah, because you're going to overheat that thing.
You're seeing the Homer Simpson car right now. Due to the tractor shortage of the time period, the conversion kit was popular, but it was not exactly easy for the farmer to work throughout the week, dismantle it, and then take his family into town on a Sunday.
Yeah, sounds absurdly complicated.
Mm-hmm. By December of 1917, Willie had managed to bring some of Harry's plow ideas into reality. It was made with the Eros in mind, and it was able to plow 2 furrows. It weighed 220 pounds, considerably less than the other plows in the market, and used about half as many parts as the other ones as well. I guess a big thing for Harry was simplicity in design. Because less parts, less go wrong.
Yeah.
Although these things were helpful, it was how the plow was attached to the tractor was what was particularly advantageous. It was attached under the belly of the tractor and forward of the rear axle, which would force all 4 wheels of the tractors into the ground, solving the problem of it rearing up if rough ground was hit. It additionally featured a lever that could raise and lower the equipment, which the farmer could operate without having to dismount from the tractor. Since the plow was so close to the back of the machine, its attachment arrangement allowed it to come up and down with the tractor, potentially avoiding underground obstacles. The plow did have its teething problems, though, including a cast iron prototype falling apart during a demo.
Not ideal.
Not a good look. Despite this, overall tests with the Eros in England impressed the skeptical farming communities. Although the Eros had its day in court, it'd be short-lived since a new tractor was soon to reach the shores of Britain and Ireland. By the early 20th century, Henry Ford was already one of the most famous men in the world. He, of course, was mostly known for being the principal creator of the Model T and as the father of the modern assembly line system. What is less known is that Ford was the son of a Michigan farmer, and even though he loved the land, he hated farm work just as much as Harry. As a result, Ford wanted to build a tractor that could be mass-produced on an assembly line. So, Model T, the tractor, basically.
Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel.
The tractors were initially known as Fordsons, since another company was already using the Ford name to build their own farm machinery. That'd be awkward.
Yeah. Nowadays, that wouldn't happen. Nowadays, Ford would just buy them or...
Yeah, so that would be like I'm going to make a Dodderman camera system, but there already is an equipment company, so you call it a Dodderman son.
The lawyer's like, day's work done here. Wipe my hands clean. I'll expect my check in the mail.
That just sounds like your average lawyer, but sure is.
Yep.
The tractors were built in the United States, but the British government wished to have the Fordson built in the United Kingdom. Harry took them up on the offer, and it was decided Harry. Henry Ford took them up on the offer, and it was decided a factory would be built in Cork, Ireland. Ford chose Cork since his family had left there from there when they decided to immigrate to America. You might think Harry would have not been very happy to hear this news since it basically made his Arrows plow obsolete, but you'd be wrong. Harry idolized Henry Ford. So we're already getting into some red flag territory.
Interesting.
And instead of getting
waiting to hear more.
And instead of getting upset, he decided he would simply work on a new plow that was better suited to the new Ford tractor. To make things even better, both Harry and Willie got word that Charles Sorensen, Ford's right-hand man for 40 years, was going to be in London to hash out the details regarding the Irish-built tractors. Not ones to miss an opportunity, the wily Irishmen hustled their way to London. When first meeting with Sorensen, Harry was his usual self. He greeted Sorensen, quote, "Your Fordson's all right as far as it goes, but it doesn't really solve any of the fundamental problems." Sorensen didn't really care for the comment, but it did at the job since it immediately got his attention. Harry sensed this, so he continued to explain that the best situation possible would be for the plow to become a part of the tractor itself, but it had to be just as easy to detach it. Sorensen agreed that such an arrangement would be highly ideal, but it was extraordinarily difficult to do. Harry then laid out the blueprints for his Arrows plow. Sorensen's mood shifted from annoyance to interest. Harry had done it. He had managed to convince the second-in-command of one of the world's largest companies that he and he only had the answers they needed. The meeting went swimmingly, but later in time, Sorensen would write, quote, "Had I foreseen the consequences of that meeting, I would have avoided it."
That's an awesome sentence. That's awesome. That is the most corporate way to say, this was shit.
This was a bad idea.
Yeah.
The first order of new business was for Harry to unload the inventory of the Arrows plows he'd already built. To solve this problem, Willie devised a conversion device so the Arrows plows could be used with the Fordsons. Even though it worked, neither Willie or Harry were pleased with the performance results. So they set out to build a plow specifically for the Fordson. The decision would cause conflict at Harry Ferguson Limited. Harry's top brass were not very happy about how much the plow experiments were costing, especially since it was largely all being paid for by the car sales division, the most profitable part of the company. Harry did get support from McGregor Greer, though, so he kept working on implement development. And the new plow featured what they called the duplex hitch that was intentionally designed to allow the plow to raise and lower to avoid objects in the ground. So it pivoted, articulated, however you want to put that. Happy with the improvement, Harry patented the design, but he didn't just want to make a handful of them to sell to an assortment of Ulster farmers. He wanted thousands upon thousands of them to be built. Eventually, he decided what had to be done in order to make his dream a reality. He had to demonstrate the plow to Henry Ford himself. That would guy you. It's like an ice cream salesman saying, "I need to see the president right away. We need dairy production up. Let's not just go to the usual chain of command."
Yeah, no. Right, J. Jonah Jameson. I need pictures of the Spider-Man. Really just yelling at, old man yells at cloud.
The Spider-Man was in one of the Barefoot Bandit episodes, if you remember right.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever his name was, Spider Williams. So Henry Ford. So intent on doing this, Harry contacted Charles Sorensen. Sorensen replied that Mr. Ford was interested in seeing a demonstration of the plow and asked Harry if he would be interested in coming to Detroit. Harry said he was on his way.
Interesting.
Yeah. Harry's life also had a new positive addition, which was the birth of his first and only child, Betty. To say Harry was ecstatic as he had prepared for the trip to Detroit would be an understatement. In fact, he was so excited while they were loading the plow to the truck that was going to take it to the docks, he managed to drop a large piece of lumber on Willie's foot. Willie himself begrudgingly walked it off. That was what was I gathered from my research. It was probably more like, "Oh, you fucking hell! You dropped it." I'm not going with you.
Watch where your wood is going. Harry and Willie dropped some wood. Just gonna leave that there for you.
Okay, I'm leaving the beginning in now. The ship they sailed on was the Cambrian Head. Can't you walk past the rake on that one?
That's it. Right
Which took them across the Atlantic all the way to the gravy-colored French fries, the land of gravy-covered French fries, Quebec.
Gravy-colored.
Gravy-colored, that would be bad.
That'd be horrible.
All the way to the land of gravy-covered... What do they? Wow. All the way to the land of gravy-covered French fries, Quebec. Which I'm sure... Have you had poutine?
Yeah.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was good.
Okay.
I went to a Japanese fusion place that also had poutine. What a wild experience that was. That was a lot to take in.
That might be a Patreon exclusive. From there, Harry and Willie would take the train to Windsor, Ontario, a city right across the river from Detroit. When the train had stopped at Toronto, Harry, ever worrisome of his plow, decided he was going to head back to the cargo car to make sure it was fine, check his temperature, that sort of thing. Willie stayed in the passenger compartment. Not long after Harry had left, a guard informed Willie that the carriage he was in was not heading for Windsor, and it would be wise for him to get off. Willie then proceeded to manhandle all the luggage off the train and onto the platform. Almost as soon as he did, the train departed with Harry still on it.
Yeah, typical train story here.
Apparently, the information Willie received may have been incorrect.
Oh.
Willie paced back and forth on the platform for hours until the next train arrived. He finally got to Windsor at 10 p.m. A distraught Harry was there waiting for him.
Security just came in, trolled the sky, left, offers no further explanation. I like that back then you just would never face consequences for that, you know?
No.
You could just do anything.
Well, you can't just get on the app and complain. You got to send a letter. It's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Why do I send this letter?
So, upon seeing Willie, Harry, with relief, declared, "Oh, am I glad to see you, Willie. I gave that guard hell." Willie's surprised reaction that Harry was so personally worried about him quickly came to an end when Harry continued by saying, "All my money's in the suitcase, you know." It's just like, I don't care about you. I'm just glad you have my money now. Not long after reaching Windsor, Harry and Willie made it to Ford headquarters in Dearborn, Michigan. In those days, it was not much more than a collection of dirt roads, but the main spectacle was the River Rouge plant, which at the time was considered one of the great industrial wonders of the world. Harry and Willie set to work in order to prepare the plow for the big demonstration. A day was arranged for Sorensen and Ford to see what the boys from Belfast had to offer. As Harry was making furrows, the wraith-like Henry Ford watched with an interest that was as intense as his piercing eyes. Ford was impressed with what he saw. He then turned to Sorensen, quote, "We could use a guy like him. Hire him, Charlie," said Ford.
Have you been working on that Henry?
Yeah,
Ford
I've been working. I've been working on my Henry Ford impression.
That's good. That's good. We might need to workshop it a little more, but it's a solid base.
All right, we'll get a voice coach in. Sorensen offered a job to Harry right at that moment. Harry politely refused. Sorensen raised the salary offer not once, but 3 times. Harry still declined. He had only one interest, and that was for Ford to build the plows for him. Henry Ford himself was a bit taken aback by this and suggested perhaps Harry should take his plow elsewhere. Ford did offer to purchase some of the patent rights, however, of which Harry also declined, which he did with a smile upon his face on top of it. Henry Ford, the clever, resourceful, and ruthless entrepreneur, had managed to become one of the richest men in the world, realized that in there he had met his match with Harry Ferguson. Ford decided to keep the door open by telling Harry to keep in touch. When the boys returned to Belfast, the directors of Harry Ferguson Limited were not happy to hear the trip to Detroit did not conclude with any solid results. This caused more friction between Harry and his directors. Tired of the drama, Willie decided it was time to depart. He started his own repair business along with his father. Harry's new partner would be Archie Greer, no relation to McGregor Greer. Archie was a clothing pattern maker by trade.
Okay.
But was a Renaissance man in other ways. He learned Russian simply for the fun of it and enjoyed sewing clothes for his mother.
Okay. What part of business acumen is there in this, Manny?
It's science, Kyle. You gotta find guys that think outside the box.
Yeah. Harry seems like he could use an in-the-box thinker, possibly, but seems like that may be of good use.
After Archie made more improvements to the plow, they tested it on a Fordson at the factory in Cork in 1921. One of the Ford employees who was assigned to help them was a young man named Patrick Hennessy, who was a shell-shocked former POW. He found working on the Ford assembly line to be therapeutic and also was rather skilled at operating the Fordson. So Harry let him plow to his heart's content during testing. The routine of plowing may have further helped the young man to better cope with his PTSD.
Very good.
In the early 1920s, the proud plowmen of Britain and Ireland were still a bit skeptical of mechanized farm equipment, so Harry and John Williams took another trip to America where the tractor was starting to be accepted a little bit better. They managed to strike a deal with a blacksmith named John Shunk of Bucyrus, Ohio. It's Bucyrus. Buckaroos.
We'll get our Ohio fact checkers.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get some comments. Since the new Ferguson plow was designed to work with the Fordson, Shunk made the deal to build it since the Fordson was becoming the agricultural standard. However, Shunk started to get cold feet after he fully grasps Harry's grandiose ambitions. Harry, by this point, was on his way back to Ireland, still thinking the Shunk deal was a lock. I'm having to really pronounce that because I said skunk during practice readings. The skunk deal.
The skunk deal.
As much as he loved Ireland, he was worried about, quote, the state of Ireland and its political problems at the time. Consequently, he felt it would probably not be wise to build his plow there due to the political issues. His thinking was not unfounded since some of his already existing business interests had suffered in Dublin. After nearly a millennium of English rule, Ireland had had enough. During the height of the First World War, the Irish Civil War began with the Easter Rising, where the Irish declared their independence from the British Empire from the steps of the General Post Office of Dublin. In order to bring the war to an end, a compromise was made. 20 of the 26 counties of Ireland agreed to form the Republic of Ireland, while the remaining 6 counties in the north decided to remain part of the United Kingdom, thus forming the separate political entity of Northern Ireland. Since Harry was from Belfast, the Ferguson branch in Dublin had been a target during the conflict. This made Harry realize that having some of his products being built overseas was more important than ever. By the way, I had a friend of mine, his girlfriend, who was interesting.
Where's the story going?
She said she wanted to go to Ireland, but her mother refused to let her go because of all the unrest. And I was like, Are you still living in 1973? There hasn't been any issues for a very long time.
Yeah, it's not even the 90s.
It's not even the 90s.
Yeah.
Some people need to read more books or listen to podcasts.
Or do Constantinople. I heard that place is under siege. Mom, it's not 1200 anymore.
To make matters worse, not long after making the deal with his new North American partner, Shunk decided not to build the plow after all.
Oh, Shunk.
Yeah. So consequently, Harry had to find a new manufacturer. So he got back on a boat and returned to America.
Dude's just constantly back and forth.
Which, for his time period, he's doing a lot of traveling.
Months.
Yeah.
Months on a boat.
Most people back then never left their farm, you know?
Yeah. And just horrible travel, too, on a boat for months at a time.
He managed to make a new deal with a company called Roderick Lean. These names.
They're crazy names.
With this hopeful arrangement.
Brand managers didn't exist yet.
Harry sailed back to Ireland. Roderick Green went out of business in 1995.
Due diligence was also apparently illegal.
One would think Harry would have been fed up with the plow business by this point, but he decided to give it one last go. So he and Willie booked passage again for America. They made a new deal with the Sherman Company. Harry's plow would live to fight another day. With Sherman's handling the plow business in America and the car business doing well in Ireland, Harry decided to return to his roots for a bit. He successfully managed to lobby in Parliament for public roads to be used for organized racing events.
Nice. Sick. The way that sentence started, he's lobbying in Parliament for public roads to be used in racing events. Like, what a two-part sentence. Unbelievable.
Harry raced in such events himself, and in a daffodil yellow Austin 16.
Oh, wow. On public roads.
Yep. To add to some of Harry's eccentricities, he was an Irishman who rarely drank.
Okay.
Harry's employees and friends didn't miss the opportunity to point out the town drunk drove the same type of car that Harry drove. Harry, angry with such an association, grumpily said, "Well, you'll either get that man to change his drinking habits or change his car."
Oh, that's funny.
Whether the town drunk changed his drinking habits or his car, for that matter, it was of little consequence, since life was about to get even more interesting for Harry. He had worked hard in both the worlds of racing and agriculture, and his hard work was about to pay off.
Dun dun dun.
And that is the end of part 3.
If there was like a shot at the end of this, it'd just be the town drunk just driving along, hitting every post.
Clunk.
Clunk.
Dog. Thud. I'll get it eventually. Here's the road. Top of the morning to you, clunk.
And then a racing car would come over and jump over him. Beautiful.
All right. Well, we're halfway through.
We're halfway there. Whoa. What is going on outside?
I was listening to another podcast today. It's a big professional one too. Not saying that this one's not professional. We're just not a big one. We're hoping to be. So just keep on to telling your family about the show and your friends.
Yep.
But even they were having like problems with like airplanes and crap flying over, and they were like us in whatever episode it was. It's like, we're in a soundproof room in a building. It's like, it's terrible.
It's unbelievable. It's mostly, honestly, the guys with leaf blowers.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to outlaw one thing, it'd be leaf blowers.
And lawnmowers. Every time I do a video shoot, somebody always fires up a lawnmower.
It's amazing how they're always they don't do it any other day.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some you can cut out a little bit, but not a lot when it's that loud. Is
there anything louder on this earth than a gas-powered leaf blower like 10 feet from you? And then the guy is wearing ear protection, and you're walking by, and it's the loudest thing you've ever heard in your life. And you're like, well, I want some ear protection. What are you out here doing? And they're blowing like 2 leaves. It's like, man, you could just pick those up. Seems so unnecessary.
So today on the Leaf Blowing podcast, hosted by Kyle Dotterman.
Leaf blowers and Tim Hortons, things that boil my blood.
So I'm going to come in wearing a leaf blower and a cup of Tim Hortons in my hand when I come into your house next time.
That's okay. You'll be gagging from the Tim Hortons. Fix your stuff, Tim Hortons. I'm coming for you. This episode brought to you by... No, I'm kidding.
Well, on that note, I think we'll bring things up for a close. Again, check out all our stuff we have online. Our website, I just learned right before this recording session, is going to be up here at probably by the time this is out. So
all right,
do check that out. That is, I'll even be very formal, www.joyrideadventures.com. That once again is www.joyrideadventures.com. And it's not just any regular website. My mother made it. And not with a template. She coded it.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
So this is a family business. All right, everyone. On that note, please tune in for the next episode to hear what will happen with Harry next.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Signing out.
Later.